Kofi Mensah, an African young billionaire, fell in love with a girl who sold oranges by the roadside. While his wealthy family mocked her torn sandals and faded dress, he saw something they couldn't see: a heart of pure gold. But what this young billionaire did not know was that the poor girl he wanted to marry was hiding a secret so big, so impossible, it would shake the foundations of everything he believed. And when that secret finally came to light, it didn't just change their love story, changed an entire kingdom. Hello friends, welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We bring you the most powerful African tales that will move your soul. The city of Kumasi bustled with life like a heartbeat that never stopped. Cars honked. Market women shouted their prices. Children laughed and played in the dusty streets. And in the middle of all this chaos, on the corner of Oe Street and Manhia Road, sat a girl selling oranges. Her name was Aoe. She was 18 years old, a skin the color of midnight, and eyes that held secrets deeper than the ocean. Every day she sat in the same spot with her wooden crate of oranges, calling out to passers-by, sweet oranges, fresh from the farm, only 2 setties for 3. Her dress was faded from too many washings. Her sandals had holes that let the dust creep through. Her hair was braided simply with no expensive extensions or fancy styles. To anyone who looked at her, she was just another poor girl trying to survive in the big city. Except Kofi Mensah was 25 years old and worth more money than most people could count in a lifetime. His family owned half of Kumasi hotels, shopping malls, real estate developments, gold mines. The Mensah opened doors. It commanded respect, made people bow and scrape and smile too wide. Kofi had grown up with everything: the best schools, the finest clothes, cars that cost more than houses. Women who threw themselves at him not because they loved him, but because they loved what he represented: wealth, status, security. He was tired of it all. Every smile felt fake. Every conversation felt like a transaction. Every relationship felt like a business deal where he was just the product being sold to the highest bidder. Then one afternoon, stuck in traffic on Oe Street, Kofi saw her. Ajoya was sitting on her wooden stool, an orange in her hand, peeling it for a customer. The sun was setting behind her, casting her in golden light. And when she laughed, a real genuine laugh at something the customer said, Kofi felt something shift in his chest. It wasn't her beauty, though she was beautiful in a natural, unadorned way. It wasn't her youth or her figure or any of the superficial things that usually attracted men. It was her realness. She wasn't performing. She wasn't pretending. She was just herself. Completely authentically herself. Kofi found himself rolling down his window. "Hey orange girl." Ajoaha looked up, saw the expensive car, and her expression became guarded. She'd dealt with rich men before. They usually wanted things that weren't for sale. "Yes, sir," she called back, polite but distant. "Would you like to buy oranges?" "How much for all of them?" Kofi asked. Ajoaha blinked in surprise. "All of them. Every single one." She calculated quickly. "I have about 50 oranges left." "That's 34. Tada, sir." Kofi pulled out his wallet and handed her a 100 seti note through the window. "Keep the change, sir." "That's too much, please," Kofi said, and something in his voice made her pause. "Just accept it. You've been sitting in the sun all day. You deserve it." Ajoaha stared at him for a long moment, and Kofi had the strangest feeling that she was looking into him, not just at him. Like she could see something in his soul that he hadn't shown anyone. Finally she took the money. "Thank you," she said quietly. Then she began loading the oranges into bags. "I'll send my driver to collect them," Kofi said. "But first, can I ask your name?" "Aho." "Just Ajoaha." A small smile played at her lips. "Just Ajoaha. I'm Kofi." "I know who you are, Mr. Mensah," she said softly. "Everyone knows who you are." Something about the way she said it made Kofi's heart skip. Not impressed, not starstruck. Just be aware. Like she saw him as a person, not a bank account. Can I see you again?" he asked, surprising himself. He'd never asked a woman out like this. Usually they'd asked him. Ajoa's smile faded. Mr. Mensah, I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? Because she said carefully, we live in different worlds, and when worlds like ours collide, people like me get hurt. I would never hurt you, Kofi said earnestly. He looked at him with those deep knowing eyes. You say that now, she said. But you don't know me and I don't know you. And there are things that make this impossible. What things? But Aho just shook her head. Your driver can collect the oranges. Thank you for your business, Mr. Mensah. May God bless you. She turned away, effectively ending the conversation. Kofi sat there in his car. Traffic finally moving but him not moving with it. Cars behind him honked. People shouted, but he couldn't stop staring at the girl who had just rejected him, a billionaire. And somehow, that made him want to know her even more. Over the next few weeks, Kofi found excuses to drive by a safe street. He told himself he was just checking on his properties in the area, just making sure his investments were doing well, just being a diligent businessman, but really he was looking for her. And every time he saw Weo sitting there with her oranges, calling out to customers with that melodious voice, smiling, that genuine smile, his fascination deepened into something more, something that felt dangerously like love. No, that was ridiculous. You couldn't love someone you'd spoken to once, could you? But his mother, Auntie Akajua, noticed the change in him immediately. She said, one evening over dinner in their mansion, you've been distracted lately, smiling at nothing. Driving around the city for no reason. What's going on? Nothing. Mother, don't lie to me, boy. Gave birth to you. I know when something's on your mind. Is it a woman? Kofi hesitated. His mother was difficult when it came to women. Opinions, strong opinions about breeding in class and what kind of woman was suitable for a Mensah. Maybe he admitted. His mother's eyes lit up. Oh, finally. Is it the boating girl? She's been asking about you. Or perhaps the Owu daughter she studied abroad, very educated. It's not anyone you know, mother. Auntie Akajua's smile faltered. What do you mean? She's different from the women you usually introduce me to. Different how? She's not from a wealthy family. She sells oranges by the roadside. The silence that followed was deafening. Auntie Akashua set down her fork. Very carefully. When she spoke, her voice was ice. You're joking. I'm not. Kofi Mensah. Tell me you have not been consorting with some roadside seller. Tell me you have not brought shame to this family by. I haven't brought shame to anyone. Elfie stood up, his own anger rising. I've spoken to her once. But there's something about her mother. Something real. Something I've never found in any of those society girls you keep pushing at me. Real. His mother laughed, but it was a bitter sound. What's real about poverty? What's real about desperation? That girl sees your money, Kofi. That's all she sees. You don't know her and neither do you. His mother stood as well, her voice rising. Girls, they're very clever. They play innocent. They play modest. They make you think they're different. And then once they have their claws in you, once you've married them and put a ring on their finger, they show their true colors. Not everyone is like that. Everyone in her position is like that. His mother said coldly. Kofi, you are a billionaire. Do you understand what that means? Every poor girl in this city is looking for a way out. And you, my foolish son. The perfect way out. Kofi shook his head. You're wrong about her. Then prove it. Bring her here. Let me meet her. Let me see this special girl who's turned my son's head. She can insult her. Humiliate her. Make her feel like she's not good enough. No thank you, mother. I would do no such thing, Auntie Akasa said. But they both knew she was lying. I simply want to meet the girl who might become part of this family. Is that so unreasonable? Kofi looked at his mother and felt for the first time in his life a distance between them. A gulf that couldn't be crossed. I'm going out, he said. Kofi, I need some air. Left the mansion and drove straight to a street. It was evening now, almost dark. Most of the street vendors were packing up, but Ajoa was still there, carefully stacking her unsold oranges back into her crate. Kofi parked his car and walked over to her. Working late. Ajoa looked up, surprise flickering across her face before she hid it. Mr. Mensah, I didn't expect to see you again. I told you I wanted to see you again. I told you it was a bad idea. Why? Kofi asked, sitting down on the curb near her stool without caring that his expensive pants were getting dusty. Why is it a bad idea? 'Cause I'm rich and you're not. That doesn't matter to me. It matters to everyone else. Yo said quietly. Your family, your friends, society, they'll never accept me. Let me worry about that. Ajoaha shook her head, a sad smile on her face. You're very naive for a billionaire. And you're very wise for an orange seller, Kofi countered. Which makes me wonder, where did you learn to speak like that? Where did you learn to carry yourself with such grace? Who are you, Aue? For just a moment, just a flash, something that looked like panic crossed her face. But it was gone so quickly. Kofi almost thought he'd imagined it. I'm nobody, she said. Just a girl trying to survive. You're lying. Excuse me, Kofi. Leaned forward. You're lying. I don't know about what exactly, but I know you're not telling me the whole truth. There's something you're hiding. Ijo stood up abruptly, her wooden stool scraping against the concrete. I think you should go, Mr. Mensah. Why won't you let me in? Kofi stood as well, frustration bleeding into his voice. Why won't you trust me? Because trust is a luxury I can't afford. The words burst out of her, raw and real. Because every time I've trusted someone, every time I've let someone close, I've been hurt, used, betrayed. So, forgive me if I don't fall at your feet just because you're rich and handsome and seem nice. I've learned that nice doesn't mean safe. They stood there in the gathering darkness, the city sounds fading around them. Just two people carrying wounds they'd never shown anyone. I'm sorry, Kofi said softly. I'm sorry someone hurt you. But I promise you I am not that person. Give me a chance. Just one chance to prove that not everyone will betray you. Joa looked at him for a long, long moment. And Kofi saw something in her eyes. A war being waged between hope and fear. Between wanting to believe and being too scared to try. Finally she sighed. One chance, she whispered. But Mr. Mensah called me Kofi. Kofi, she corrected. If I give you this chance, if I let you into my life, you have to promise me something. Anything. When you learn the truth about me, and you will learn it eventually, you have to promise you won't hate me for not telling you sooner. A chill ran down Kofi's spine. What kind of secret was she carrying? What truth could be so terrible that she was warning him in advance, but looking into her eyes, seeing the fear and hope mingled there? He found himself nodding. Promise. Ajoaha smiled then, a real smile, small but genuine. Okay, then one chance. So began the strangest courtship Kumasi had ever seen. Kofi would pick up Aja after she finished selling her oranges. They would go to small, quiet restaurants where no one knew who he was. They would walk in the botanical gardens. They would talk for hours about everything and nothing. Kofi learned that Ewe loved poetry, that she could quote entire verses from Kofi Annan and Ama Ata Adu, that she had a laugh like music when she forgot to guard herself. But he also learned that she was incredibly secretive about her past. Where did she grow up? Oh, a small village. You wouldn't know it. Who were her parents? They passed away when I was young. Where did she live now? Small room. Nothing special. Every question was deflected. Every probe was gently redirected. And while Kofi respected her privacy, he couldn't help but feel that massive secret hovering between them like a wall he couldn't climb. His mother, of course, wasn't pleased. You're still seeing that orange seller, she said one morning, her voice dripping with disdain. The servants are talking. People are starting to notice. Kofi, this needs to end. Why? Kofi challenged. Because she's not rich. 'Cause she doesn't have a fancy family name. Because she's using you, his mother exploded. Can't you see it? She's playing hard to get. She's making herself mysterious and interesting. It's all a game to trap you. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I, Kofi? I've lived in this world longer than you. I know how these gold diggers operate. This girl, her name is Ajua. This girl, his mother continued, is no different from any other poor person who sees a rich man and decides he's their ticket out of poverty. Mark my words, son. The moment you marry her, and God forbid you're foolish enough to do that, she'll show her true colors, she'll spend your money, she'll embarrass you in public. Kofi slammed his hand on the table, making the dishes jump. I am a grown man, mother. I can make my own decisions about who I spend time with, not while you live under this roof. You can't. The threat hung in the air. Are you kicking me out? Kofi asked, disbelief coloring his voice. His mother's face softened slightly. No, my son, I'm not. But I am asking you to think carefully. Really, think. Is this girl worth destroying your reputation, your family's reputation? Everything we've built? Kofi looked at his mother and saw, perhaps for the first time, how afraid. She was not of Ajoaha specifically, but of losing control, of losing her son to someone she didn't approve of. Mother, he said quietly. I love her. Auntie Akajua closed her eyes. You barely know her. I know enough. And what I know I love. Then bring her here, his mother said, opening her eyes. If she's so wonderful, if she's so special, bring her to dinner. Let me meet her properly. Let me see what you see in her. Kofi hesitated. He knew this was a trap. Knew his mother would be critical, judgmental, looking for any reason to dislike Ajoaha. But he also knew that if he refused, it would only confirm his mother's suspicions. Daddy agreed. I'll ask her. But when Kofi asked Ajoa to dinner at his family's mansion, her reaction surprised him. She went pale. Actually pale, which was impressive for someone with such dark skin. No, she said immediately. Can't. Why not, Ajoa? If we're going to have a future together, you'll have to meet my family eventually. I know, but not yet. Please, Kofi, not yet. When then? I don't know. Just I need time. Kofi studied her face. She looked terrified. It's not nervous or anxious, but genuinely terrified. What was she so afraid of? Ajoaha, he said gently, taking her hands. What are you hiding from me? Nothing, she said, but her voice shook. You're lying again. Please just tell me the truth. Do whatever it is. We can face it together. Tears welled up in his eyes. Don't understand. The truth isn't just about me. It's bigger than me. It's complicated than uncomplicated. Help me understand. But Ajo just shook her head, tears now streaming down her face. Can't. Not yet. Please, Kofi. Just trust me. Give me a little more time. Kofi wanted to push, wanted to demand answers, but looking at her tears, at the genuine anguish in her eyes, he found himself nodding. Okay, he whispered. Okay, wait. But deep down, he was starting to wonder what secret could possibly be this big. The answer came 3 weeks later in the most unexpected way possible. Kofi's family was hosting a charity gala at their mansion. It was a big event. Politicians, businessmen, socialites, even some traditional chiefs from various regions. Kofi's mother had insisted he attend, and he couldn't really refuse. It was for a good cause after all, but his mind was elsewhere, on Ajoa, on her secrets, and the growing feeling that he was in love with a ghost, with someone who wasn't quite real. He was standing by the bar nursing a drink and trying to look interested in a conversation about real estate, when suddenly the room went quiet, not just quiet, silent. Kofi turned to see what had caused such a reaction, and his breath caught. In his throat, a group of people had just entered the mansion. Horton people, clearly. They were dressed in the most elaborate traditional Kentai cloth Kofi had ever seen, with gold jewelry that probably cost more than most people's houses. And they were flanked by guards. Actual guards. Leading them was an elderly man with a bearing so regal, so commanding. The people automatically bowed as he passed. The Asanahene's representative. Someone whispered next to Kofi. And those are members of the royal court from Mania Palace. Kofi's heart started beating faster. The Asanahene, the king of the Ashanti people, was one of the most powerful traditional rulers in Ghana. His representative showing up at a private event was unusual. It's very unusual. Kofi's mother rushed forward to greet them, bowing deeply. Your Excellency, this is an unexpected honor. We were not aware you would be attending. The elderly man. The representative looked at her with grave eyes. Mrs. Mensah, we are not here for the gala. We are here because we have received troubling information. Kajua looked confused about what? About a certain young woman, the representative said. A young woman who has been missing from the palace for over 6 months. A young woman we have been searching for desperately. And we have reason to believe that your son knows where she is. All eyes turned to Kofi. Me. Kofi said, his voice cracking slightly. I don't understand. I don't know anyone from the palace. Don't you? The representative pulled out a photograph and handed it to Kofi. Kofi looked at the photograph and the world tilted sideways. It was Ojo, but not a Joaha as he knew her. Not in a faded dress with worn sandals. This Aoe was dressed in royal Kent. She wore gold jewelry. Her hair was elaborately styled. She sat on an ornate chair with the bearing of no. It couldn't be, the representative said quietly. Is Princess Akasa Aho Serwa, daughter of the Asanahin's brother, member of the royal family, and she has been missing since she ran away from the palace 6 months ago. The room erupted in whispers. Kofi couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what he was hearing. Aho was a princess. You've been seeing her, the representative continued. Haven't you, Mr. Mensah? You've been courting her. The palace has had people watching. And while we are grateful that she appears to be safe, we need you to tell us where she is now. Kofi's mind was reeling. All those conversations, all her evasions, all her secrets, they suddenly made sense. She wasn't hiding because she was ashamed of being poor. She was hiding because she was royalty. Kofi's voice came out as a croak. I don't, Mr. Mensah. The representative's voice grew stern. This is not a game. Princess Aho's family is worried sick. Her father, the prince, has aged 10 years. In 6 months, her mother cries every night. If you know where she is, HST tell us. Before Kofi could respond, his mother stepped forward, her face a mask of shock and something else. Something that looked like horror. You've been courting a princess. She hissed at Kofi. A runaway princess. Do you have a night idea what you've done? What kind of trouble you've brought to this family? Didn't Kono? Kofi shot back, finding his voice. She never told me. Why would she tell you? The representative asked, his tone softening slightly. The princess ran away for a reason. She was tired of the restrictions of palace life, tired of the expectations, tired of being told who she could and couldn't love. She wanted to experience normal life, to be treated like a regular person. And apparently he looked at Kofi with something that might have been respect. You gave her that. Kofi felt like he was drowning. Where is she now? Yes. Is she in trouble? Is she? She's at the palace. The representative said we found her yesterday. She's safe, but she's been asking for you. For me. She says she won't explain why she ran away unless you're there. She says she owes you the truth. Kofi didn't hesitate. Take me to her. His mother grabbed his arm. Kofi, wait. Think about this. Getting involved with royalty, especially a runaway princess. This could be disastrous for our family. The scandal, I don't care about scandal. Kofi pulled his arm free. The woman I love has been found. She's asking for me. That's all that matters. He turned to the representative. I'll come with you right now. The representative nodded approvingly. Good, come. The princess is waiting. The drive to Mania Palace felt like it took hours, though it was only 20 minutes. Kofi sat in the back of the official car, his mind spinning with 1,000 questions. Why had she run away? Why hadn't she told him who she was? Had everything between them been a lie? No, it couldn't have been. The connection they'd shared, the conversations, the laughter that had been real. He'd stake his life on it. The palace was magnificent, ancient and modern at the same time. Guards stood at attention. Servants moved with quiet efficiency. And everywhere there was gold. Gold on the walls, gold in the decorations, gold on the people. Kofi was led through corridors that seemed to go on forever until finally they reached a door. Representative knocked once, then opened it. Sir Kofi Mensa, Your Highness. Kofi stepped into the room and there she was, a DJ away, but also not a Joa. This woman wore a beautiful Kent dress. Her hair was styled elaborately. She wore gold jewelry. She sat with perfect posture on an elegant chair. But when their eyes met, when she stood up and he saw the tears streaming down her face, that was his Ajoy, the girl he'd fallen in love with. Kofi, she whispered. They stood there for a moment just staring at each other across the room. Then Aoa dismissed the servants with a wave of her hand. Leave us, please. When they were alone, she finally spoke. I suppose you have questions, Kofi said, his voice tight with emotion. Starting with, were you ever going to tell me the truth? As Aho said immediately, I didn't know how. How do you tell someone you've been lying to them about your entire identity? You could have started with, hi, I'm actually a princess. That would have been a good opening. Despite everything, despite the tension and confusion, Ajoa laughed. A short, sharp laugh that was half sobbed. You're right. You're absolutely right. But Kofi, please try to understand. When I ran away from the palace, I was desperate to experience life as a normal person. Do you know what it's like to have every moment of your life controlled? Every decision made for you? Is every friend vetted? Is every word you speak analyzed for political implications? No, Kofi admitted. You don't. It's suffocating. Ajoaha continued, her voice breaking. I felt like I was drowning in silk and gold. And then there was the marriage arrangement. My parents had decided I would marry a chief's son from the north, a man I'd never met, a man who only wanted me because of my title. When I protested, when I said I wanted to choose my own husband, my own life, said it was my duty, that personal happiness didn't matter when you were royalty. She walked to the window, looking out at the palace grounds. So I ran. I took nothing but the clothes on my back and some money I'd saved. Cut my hair short. I bought cheap clothes from the market and I became nobody. Just Ojua, a girl selling oranges, and it was wonderful. For the first time in my life, people looked at me and saw me, not my title. They treated me like a human being, not a political symbol. Kofi felt his anger melting away, replaced by understanding. And then I came along. And then you came along. Ajoaha agreed, turning back to face him. Tears were streaming down her face now, this handsome, kind, genuine man who bought all my oranges and asked nothing in return. Who wanted to get to know me for me, who didn't care that I was poor, who saw something in me beyond what I could offer him. She walked toward him slowly. I fell in love with you, Kofi. Really truly in love. And every day that passed, every moment we spent together, I wanted to tell you the truth. But I was so scared. Scared that if you knew who I really was, you'd treat me differently. Scared that you'd see the princess instead of the person. Scared that she broke down sobbing. Scared that you'd hate me for lying. Goofy closed the distance between them and pulled her into his arms. She collapsed against him, crying like her heart was breaking. I could never hate you, he whispered into her hair. I love you, Yoa, princess or orange seller or whatever you are. I love you even though I lied. Even though you lied, though for the record I'm still pretty mad about that part. Joa laughed through her tears. That's fair. They stood. They're holding each other and for a moment everything felt right. But then reality came crashing back. What happens now? Kofi asked quietly. You're back at the palace. Your family found you. Are they going to force you to marry that chief's son? Mo. A deep voice said from the doorway. They both jumped apart. Standing in the doorway was a man who looked like an older, more regal version of Ojo. He wore the most elaborate Kent Kofi had ever seen. And his presence filled the room like thunder. Your Highness, Ua said, bowing deeply. Father. This was the prince, Ajoa's father, member of the royal family. And Kofi had just been caught embracing his daughter. Kofi dropped to his knees immediately, bowing his head. Your Highness, I apologize. I didn't mean any disrespect. Stand up, young man, the prince said, not unkindly. Let me look at you. Kofi stood, his heart pounding. The prince circled him slowly, studying him like a piece of art he was considering purchasing. So the prince finally said, "You're the one my daughter ran away for." "I what?" The prince smiled slightly. "Oh, she didn't run away for you specifically. You hadn't met yet, but she ran away looking for what you represent. Freedom, choice. Love that isn't arranged or controlled." Turned to his daughter. "Isn't that right, Ojo?" Ojo nodded, wiping her tears. "Yes, father." "And did you find it?" the prince asked gently. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Joa looked at Kofi and her face broke into a smile. A real genuine beautiful smile. "Yes, father, I did." The prince nodded slowly. "And I suppose I have no choice but to give you my blessing." The room went silent. Kofi wasn't sure he'd heard correctly. Your blessing for the marriage." The prince clarified. "You do intend to marry my daughter, don't you? After courting her for weeks, after making her fall in love with you?" Yes, absolutely. But you'd allow that even though I didn't know she was a princess, even though we met when she was pretending to be a normal girl." The prince finished. "Mr. Mensa, the fact that you fell in love with my daughter, when you thought she was poor, when you thought she had nothing to offer you but herself, it tells me more about your character than 1,000 background checks could. You didn't want her title, you didn't want her wealth, you wanted her." The prince walked to his daughter and took her hand, then took Kofi's hand and placed them together. That kind of love is rare. And when you're royalty, it's even rarer. Most people who court princesses are really courting power. But you courted an orange seller and you loved her anyway. Kofi felt tears pricking his own eyes. "Now, Your Highness, I promise you, I will spend every day of my life making sure she's happy, making sure she feels free, making sure she knows she's loved for who she is, not what she is." "I believe you," the prince said. "But there are conditions." "Anything. First, you must understand what you're getting into. Marrying a princess isn't like marrying a normal woman. There will be protocols, ceremonies, expectations. Can you handle that?" "Second, you must agree to learn our traditions, respect our customs, to become part of our family, not just take our daughter away from us." "Course, Your Highness." "And third," the prince's face became serious. "You must promise to always see her first, before the princess, before the title, for the responsibilities. Can you promise me that?" Kofi looked at Ajoaha, at the woman who had sold oranges and torn sandals, who had laughed at his jokes, who had trusted him with her heart even when she couldn't trust him with her identity. "I promise," he said, "she'll always be my Aue first. Everything else is just decoration." The prince smiled, really smiled for the first time. "Then you have my blessing. I think you'll find that my daughter's mother will be much easier to convince than I was. She's been hoping Ua would find love, real love. But there was still one more hurdle to clear. Kofi's mother. When Kofi turned home that evening with Ojo, now dressed in full royal regalia, flanked by 2 guards, his mother nearly fainted. Mother Kofi said, unable to hide his smile, "I'd like you to formally meet Princess Akajua Ajua Serwa, my future wife." Auntie Akajua's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Princess, but you said she sold oranges." "I did," Aho said, stepping forward with that regal grace Kofi now understood she'd had all along. "Mrs. Mensa, I apologize for the deception. I was trying to escape my life at the palace to experience freedom. Your son gave me that gift. He saw me as a person, not a title. And that's why I love him." Auntie Akajua looked like she was having several heart attacks at once. "You're actually a princess. A real princess. It's from the royal family." "Yes, ma'am. And you want to marry my son?" "Very much, ma'am." Kofi watched his mother's face go through an entire journey. Shock, disbelief, confusion, and then something that looked like reluctant admiration. "Well," his mother finally said, her voice faint, "I suppose I was wrong about you being a gold digger since you have more gold than we do." Despite the tension, everyone laughed. "Even Ajoaha, Mrs. Mensa," Ajoaha said gently. "Hesitation. You were trying to protect your son. That makes you a good mother. But I promise you, I don't want Kofi for his money. I don't want him for status. I just want him for him. Auntie Akajua studied the princess for a long moment. Bought all your oranges that first day. You did. And you didn't throw yourself at him. No, ma'am. I actually told him it was a bad idea for us to be together. You knew you were lying about who you were. Yes, ma'am. Me. Kajua nodded slowly. Now, at least you have integrity. That's something. He turned to Kofi. She's still going to be difficult to be married to. Royalty always is. Mother, but his mother continued, a small smile forming. She clearly loves you and you clearly love her. And I suppose that's what matters. She bowed slightly to Aoa. Welcome to the family, Your Highness. Please, Aoa said warmly. Call me Aoa. I've been a princess my whole life, but I've only been part of a loving family for a few hours. I'd like to experience more of that. And just like that, Auntie Akasa's last defenses crumbled. She stepped forward and embraced Aya. Welcome home, my daughter. The wedding was the event of the decade. It brought together two worlds, old money and old royalty. The ceremony was traditional, held at Mania Palace with the Asana himself presiding. Kofi wore the finest Kent money could buy. Ajoaha wore her mother's wedding Kent passed down through generations of royal women. But the moment everyone would remember, the moment that would be talked about for years, was when Aoa insisted on one unusual addition to the ceremony. After all the traditional rites were performed, after they'd been declared husband and wife, Ajoaha pulled out a small wooden crate, a crate of oranges. These, she announced to the confused crowd, are for my husband, because this is where our story began, with oranges, with me trying to survive. With him seeing past my poverty to the person underneath. She turned to Kofi, tears in her eyes. You loved me when I had nothing, when I was nobody. That's a gift I'll treasure forever. Kofi took an orange from the crate, peeled it carefully, and offered her a piece. And you taught me that love isn't about status or wealth or what someone can give you. It's about connection. It's about seeing someone's soul and saying, yes, that one. That's the one I choose. There wasn't a dry eye in the palace. Even the Asanahin himself was seen wiping his face with his handkerchief. Years later, when Kofi and Aoa had children of their own, they would tell them the story of how they met. Your mother, Kofi would say, sold oranges by the roadside. And your father, Aho would add, bought all of them even though he didn't need them. Was Mama really a princess? Their daughter would ask. She was, Kofi would confirm. But she was also just a girl who wanted to be loved for herself. And I was just a boy who was tired of people only loving his money. Did you love her even when you thought she was poor? Her son would ask. Especially then, Kofi would say. Because that's when I knew her love was real. She didn't need my money. She didn't need my status. She just needed me. Ajoaha would smile and take his hand. And he didn't need my title or my royal blood. He just needed me. So what's the lesson? Their children would ask. And together, Kofi and Aoa would say, the lesson is that true love sees the person, not the package. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, royal or common. What matters is the heart. What matters is the soul. What matters is finding someone who sees you, really truly sees you, and loves you anyway. And so, friends, this is where our story ends. But it's also where the real story begins. Because Kofi and Ojo didn't just find love. They found partnership. They found truth. They found a connection that transcended class and status and all the artificial barriers that society puts up. The billionaire learned that wealth doesn't buy happiness. The princess learned that freedom isn't about escaping responsibility. It's about choosing who you share that responsibility with. And together, they built a life that honored both their worlds. Kofi used his wealth to help his wife's charitable causes. Ajoa used her royal connections to open doors for Kofi's business ventures. It became a power couple. Yes, but not because of money or status, because of love. Real, authentic, one love. The kind of love that starts with buying oranges from a stranger and ends with building a kingdom together. I hope this powerful African tale has touched your heart today. If Kofi and Aoa's love story moved you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories and share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that true love sees beyond appearances. Drop a comment and tell us, do you believe in love at first sight? Or do you think real love takes time to build? We want to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. New York, London, Johannesburg, Lagos, Accra, Kingston, Toronto. We love knowing where our global family is. Remember, friends, love isn't about what someone has. It's about who someone is. See the person, not the package. See the soul, not the status. And when you find someone who sees you the same way, hold on to them. Treasure them. Build a kingdom with them. Until next time, may your hearts be open, your love be true, and your oranges always be